Hello and welcome to this special edition of Into the Composer's Mind. Today I will be presenting some digital program notes to the final performance of Remembrance. So I will be providing some commentary as the video is playing. So this will allow you to have a little more information into the actual composition. So here we go. The piece starts with this synthesizer playing the bass together with some instrumentation, establishing that first tonal center, the tone around D, and the Gregorian chant. The Gregorian chant that was chosen for this particular piece plays all the way through together with the synthesizer. It is based on the services for the actual date for my father's birthday. That's how they were chosen. There are three chants, one for each section. First one centered around D, second one centered around F, and the third one centered around G. So you hear that Gregorian chant being sung and played throughout the piece. Here. The piece also features a recorded percussion track that was improvised by one of our family members from his studio in Vancouver.
What right is sound said about?
Throughout the piece, you're going to hear different stories and narration provided by my father, and accompanied by, of course, visuals that help to create the emotional content that we're hoping to establish. This first section, of course, is dealing with my father's faith and his relationship to his Creator.
The angel rose and vanished. The next night,
you're hearing in the different instruments, different melodic fragments that are now being created into a melody that was based on the chant, and some other components.
I thought, that was Suzanne. Suzanne, she loved her fellow man. She did things for people, you know. They were important.
This part of the composition again is transitioning from one story into another story, and is giving that flavor or that musical emotional feel in the background connection to some sort of feeling you might have with your Creator or the Creator of the universe. This next story that is presented by my father is a little more personal, dealing with some of his relationships with his family at home, and that was an important part of his faith and his growth. So we're providing some musical accompaniment to go along with this story, or maybe it's vice versa. Who knows?
Music programs, and she'd brush my hair.
The composition is using some authentic video and audio from the 1930s. We're then moving into part two of the composition, which is dealing with a relationship with community, and features interview from the Memory Project, where my father was talking about his wartime experiences. These experiences are then being punctuated by the performance by different family members of a piece that was of particular importance to them and their relationship with him. So first we're hearing a performance of It's a Wonderful World. In the background, you're also hearing a singing bowl being played, which is imitating the sounds which might have been created in the sonar room of the boat where my father was, or the ship where my father was. And it also shows a relationship to a different kind of sound, and how another family member relates to the universe. Different miscellaneous percussion has been added by some of the family members as well. Of course, the synthesizer and the chant are playing throughout this section as well, centered around the tonal center F. Here we have a beautiful poem that a lot of you might know, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. My father could recite from memory hundreds and hundreds of poems, and this was one of his favorites. In the background, you're hearing a violin solo being played that also evokes some of those feelings. You'll hear a fuller version of that solo a little later on. Moving into the next part, we're hearing a tenor saxophone solo by another family member playing the song Panis Angelicus, which was an important piece that related from this family member to Dad and Mom and Dad. And you also see some accompanying visuals that help to show this connection between family members and my father, as well as his connection to community as the story continues in the background. And of course, you're still going to hear some chant as well. This balance between background and foreground is a compositional technique that allows the listener to perceive a general feeling and listen to or watch what components you wish to see, if you have that, what emotional connection you have to the music. Again, the singing bowl is returning as we're talking about the actual work on the ship. This leads into the next section, which features a trombone solo somewhere over the rainbow, which was there's an important connection here between this family member and my father. And of course, it relates to the story as well, as many people wonder, as the war was ended, what the future would bring. You're going to hear another story here of where my father gets a little more philosophical as he discusses two boys walking to school one day, and one of those boys, his glass is half empty. He doesn't see anything or feel anything exciting, whereas the other boy, whose glass is half full, sees all sorts of interesting little things along the way. It's a kind of a comment on my father's philosophy of life. His glass was always half full.
Crawling along in the dust of the pattern to the left as they crawled along through there.
Again, you're seeing some video images that related to where you might be on the trail. In the final section, in the final community section, we're hearing this beautiful violin solo, Agus Khan. I'm not sure if I pronounced that properly, I'm sorry. That has this, again, a strong emotional content from this family member to my father, who just loved to hear this melody. And also in the background, you're hearing the sounds of the water and the beach which is another important emotional sound and connection which my father had. This will lead us right into part 3, which I call the family section, centered around the tonal center G. And you're going to hear a beautiful ensemble playing of a Celtic kind of tune that was inspired by actually looking at some birds on a wire just outside my studio here. And it has a nice rhythmic drive and exciting positive feeling to it as we enter into where the future will be taking us. Score throughout here is all ensemble playing, featuring this melody and the rhythmic accompaniment that goes with it. You hear the melody being tossed around between the different instruments. And some nice counterpoint. Leads us into the final section we call the coda, or a family musical epitaph. Again, it returns to the tonal center D, but drifts through a few other centers as well with the chant. And it also features the organ for the first time. I am an organist, and playing the organ at church and different functions has been an important part of my life and my connection to family. You'll also hear another beautiful story being read, a poem by Robert Service. These poems were being read to my father as he passed away.
And honest friends are few.
He was always an important poet for my father. Some beautiful memories. Here you're hearing a melody that is what I've called a family melody, which has been I've used over the 50 years for various family functions. It heads us into the final joyous cadence that leads us into the future.
Quite a time.
So I hope you've enjoyed these program notes, and thank you for listening to this, being a part of this project. And I look forward to where the next steps will be for the project of Into the Composer's Mind.